everyone. Marketing today is at an interesting place and expectations are only going up. But the budgets are somehow getting tighter. And somewhere in between, there's a growing question around, what will the marketing stack actually comprise of and what is actually just sitting there. So to begin with, my first question is to both of you. If tomorrow you have to roughly cut around 30% of your Martech budget, what's the first thing you would stop spending on, and what's the one thing that would absolutely protect? I start with you, Ms. Singh.
Thank you. I think all of us are now exploring the way we would use AI and platforms and tools. Having said that, when you spend in a B2B scenario, it is very different on how you would spend in a B2C scenario. B2B is not about how many people saw your ad. It's about how many people connected with the ad and the kind of messaging you want to deliver, which should land on your ideal ICP. Are you trying to solve their challenges? Are you trying to give them value? All of that would depend on how would you optimize your campaigns now. In B2B scenario, we were always able to trace our spends. But now it's not just about how much value are you delivering out of the spends that you've done so far, but it's about how shorter are you making the sales cycle, because the sales cycle in a B2B place is much longer. The first thing I think we've done so far is, I think everybody in the team has suddenly become a designer. So we're using the tools, the dependency on the agencies, dependency on the in-house design team has drastically reduced. So that's the thing, I think that is an automatic shift that has happened within the team. Nobody wanted to do this, but it happened because you don't want to wait for anybody to give what you're visualizing in your head. You don't want to stand on that person and tell this is the way it should look like, because you're able to do that much faster with the prompt, and the turnaround time is obviously much faster. So that's the first thing that I think we've already optimized. Second thing, part of the question, which was what would you protect? I think your performance marketing still remains strong, that you would protect. Your campaigns are sharper now because the way you're using Claude for ABM or any of the enterprise platforms with respect to AI, those have become much sharper in terms of profiling your customer. Understanding where they were, what are they looking for, those conversations have become sharper.
Thank you, Aritra, for this question. So from the B2C lens, if you see Martech tools, they are mostly around attribution, behavioral analytics, and then you have engagement basis on these behavioral analytics. So if I have to, and then there are a lot of tools around. So mostly it has for the companies who have, I'd say, disposal of a lot of funds. We are a bootstrapped company and has been bootstrapped for the last 25 years, so we use very limited tools. So it has become more of a graveyard of subscriptions. So my thought and what I think we are almost there, and we have implemented, I'd say, 80% bit of it. The company should own the first layer of the data, and the entire work and I'd say the inputs has to go that how you can marry the data from the attribution to the behavioral analytics and then engage the user. So the first cost cutting should be anything which does not contribute to decision making, speed, and then obviously revenue. Any tool that should not be part of the stack. If you can get a tool which takes care of the both attribution and behavioral analytics, safeguarding your first party data, that's the best way to go around it. So what we do is we safeguard our first party data, and which is our own data, and we expose a limited layer to the Martech tools. And because of this, again, advent of this Gen AI, this entire thing has become we are into conversation business. Consultation is our prime business. We recently ventured into D2C products, spiritual products as well. So data for us is very important. And again, with the advent of this entire Gen AI bit, this has become far more easier for us to understand that what sort of data we should actually from our data layer, we should expose to these marketed tools and only target those users. So basically, if you see this mostly these engagement tools are now connected to CPaaS platforms. And then you have your further set of, I'd say, expense which comes from RCS or for that matter WhatsApp or messaging. So that is also a bit where you can actually optimize your cost, that if you are passing a very sharp data, filtered data, hyper-personalized data to your Martech tools, basis on the behavioral first data analytics you have, then you also target very limited set of users, and your cost at the, I'd say, CPaaS platforms also get reduced. So this is how I see. What needs to be safeguarded is the first party data, which is your data. Because if you are not safeguarding that data, your switching cost becomes very high from one Martech tool to another. If tomorrow someone says, Ki, I have a very less subscription and please get me in, you are tied to the previous tool. You cannot actually get there. So that is something you have to, every company should work towards. That's my limited, I'd say, point.
Okay, but in a business like yours, which is very performance driven, how in a Martech stack do you decide that what tool is pulling the weight and what tool is not?
So, look, performance, Google, you cannot avoid Google and Facebook, let's be honest. But then, what tools, I actually emphasize, I'll again say this, anything, any tool which is not contributing to your speed, or for that matter, there are a lot of dashboarding tools we should just get, because if it's not helping for the decision making, there's no point of having that. If speed, decision making, and ultimately revenue, it should be taken away. That is how this entire thought has to be put towards. It's not easy. It's not easy to build that data layer, which it has to be engineered very well so that you expose the right layer to the Martech platforms, and a limited ones. We use two, but probably now we'll be only using one. We have created an entire data warehousing where all the data is actually married in one place, and we know what to do with what. So again, repeating, speed, decision making, and ultimately revenue. If it's not contributing, that should not be part of your stack.
Understood. And in a B2B setup like Moglix, buying cycles are usually long, but the attribution isn't always straightforward. So how is it that you justify the marketing spends when the budget is under tighter control?
So like I said, in a B2B scenario, you're able to trace whatever digital first platforms you have for yourself. You're able to trace each step. You're able to trace the kind of leads that you're getting from the marketing spends that you've done on your stack, whether it is AI, whether it is performance marketing, whether it is search, AEA, GEO, whatever you've done so far, the funnel of movement is obvious. And you know which platform, because you asked this from Aditya as well, that you know which platform is delivering the pull for you and which is not. Like he also said about the fact that you need to optimize your media channels, you need to optimize which platform is working for you, you need to be sharp in terms of the way you're designing your campaign and which campaign is delivering results or not. He spoke about RCS, WhatsApp, all of that you would eventually know in which nurturing campaign you will use where. Now the first conversation can never be about it cannot be a larger macro statement about where the industry is going. It is about what is the challenge that person is facing in their particular industry, what is the particular challenge that they're facing with their role, and how are you going to add value. Now, if that conversation is happening on either of your marketing platforms, the messaging is consistent, you've built a consistent air cover for the person to see wherever he's landing, whether it is on LinkedIn, whether it is on WhatsApp, that will deliver results. Because the decision, because you've mentioned the sales cycle, the decision is not happening in one go. That decision is much longer. That decision is also dependent the kind of conversations that your sales team is having with that person.
There's this question that I want to know from both perspectives, from B2C as well as B2B. That is, do you think that growth teams rely too much on tools rather than actively experimenting and moving ahead with the decision making?
I think growth teams are the teams which do the maximum number of hacks within the company. They are the innovation leaders within the company, and I think they should remain that. They should be able to experiment, because Basis that only you know which platform is working, which idea is working for you or not. That should not be curbed, because if you try to curb that ideation layer, you would not be able, there is a reason they are called growth, right? They are supposed to have those scales, those growth levers, they are supposed to experiment. And the beauty of certain platforms is that they are subscription based. If they are not working for you, you don't have to buy an annual pack. You can just go on a monthly pack, see if it's working for you, scale it up. If it's not, drop it.
So the way I look at it is more of growth engineering. Because the way technology has actually evolved, marketing is very tightly integrated with technology now. Earlier, probably the scenario used to be different, but by the time I have seen it, technology plays a very strong role. If marketing is not well integrated with the product and technology team, they kind of get a very hard time to optimize their campaigns or any sort of tools which is out there, because data has to flow seamlessly. So I'll take two examples. Okay, mostly there are two sorts of businesses in which you kind of acquire a customer and you get your, I'd say, entire LTV to CAC ratio positive, and you sell one product and you are done. And second is the repeat, where you have huge repeat cycles. Your LTV to CAC actually goes positive in probably 12 months, 6 months, at times 24 months as well. So in these both scenarios, the experimentation actually goes in a very different manner. And when I said that there are tools which takes care of the attribution, behavioral, analytics, and then engagement. So when the experimentation is done, are the marketeers making sure that the campaign, the data which actually flew into your product, and then the behavioral analytics data which actually went into where you actually engage the user basis on that, are you able to learn that it came from that campaign which you were optimizing in Google or Facebook? If not, then I think that sort of experimentation, if any sort of experimentation is not actually helping in this loop, I find that to be a experiment in silo, more like कि oh मैंने ये improve कर दिया for your just one of the KPIs. Ultimately, business is not going to get help with that. So my 2 cents is that we should not focus on a single tool that I optimized my click percentage of CTR of my push notification campaign. People do that as well. The optimization should be the entire 360-degree loop, which should be actually be covered. And if you're doing any bit in between, that experimentation should be there, and it should not be like is tool se maine ye kar liya. So that is how I see it. And for a repeat business, for us, it's very important for us to understand that when a customer gets in, which campaign is actually giving us a high LTV user. If Android is giving us like kick-ass CPIs, but we don't have LTV from Android, we probably will switch to the users which are converting better, or rather having a higher LTV in iOS. Very small example, but that is something which any of the, I say, businesses which are running on the repeat business, a strong repeat business, where you have you're not able to, I say, maintain your LTV to CAC within M6. These are some of the very basic things which should be taken into account.
Perfect. And there's one line you guys must have heard, that do more with less budget. So what is it that actually changes on ground for your team when you hear this?
I think the research part of it has definitely seen a massive shift. What you were able to do like a year or a year and a half before getting interns or getting more people to do the kind of secondary research that you would do to build a campaign, that completely has become obsolete now. Having said that, the LLMs are also delivering way more than being a search query or answering the kind of questions that you want for a particular target customer or a profile. They've become a multifunctional workhorse. They are doing research for you, they are pulling ABM campaign content for you, they are also doing the kind of news that the company or your target customer was in recently. So all of this is happening in real time. So I'm not sure in terms of the cost part of it, but your bandwidth part of it has definitely become, like all of us have, I think now, I call myself a demigod because I think I have 4 hands now. Because my personal bandwidth, I feel, has increased by 30%. Now, having said that, the expectation of the management has also increased by that much. So it's not just about optimizing cost, it's also about how much are you delivering which you were not giving before. So are you able to turn around the campaigns faster? Are you able to shorten the sales cycle? If not, with the same amount of target, are you able to have larger number of SQLs from the same amount of MQLs? Is the customer journey, is the user interface, user experience is consistent across the platforms that you would see? Are your ads speaking the same language? All of that has become, it's a hygiene now. It's not something that it's a given.
Yeah, so the way I say this is, it's actually very important. Sorry, Aritra, can you please repeat your question once?
So this dialogue that goes, do more with less budget. Once that is,
Yeah, sorry, huh? I lost the trail. Yeah, so whensoever we keep on saying this is a very, again, I'm emphasizing on this statement that we are a bootstrapped company. This is our day-to-day conversations we keep on happening. So whenever you say this, what actually I have seen, there is some bit of innovation which comes next, which was like, ki, sir, this is what we have done. This is something, a new layer of engineering hack which comes into, again, I'm saying marketing has to work with engineering. There is a lot which can happen. And there's a new layer of engineering hack which comes in, ki now we can further filter our data or do something of that sort. We have now been able to attribute it even better so we can squeeze our budgets. So that is something. It happens every time we say that we have to reduce our budgets, but still the revenue should not go down. That this is where team actually pushes, and I have a theory that if you push, obviously it has a threshold, but if you push someone, our brain is actually able to work. Even there's a Parkinson's law that the lesser time you give for the same time, for the same work, if you give a small time or the larger time frame, the work has to happen that way. You expand the work as per the time given. So I believe the same for the brain to be there. If you kind of choke them, they come up with the innovations, but you have to facilitate them with entire, I'd say that you have all the, I'd say, power in your hands. Go ahead and talk to engineering team. You have the complete mandate, because you just cannot say just you have to reduce the budget. You have to give the entire mandate to that individual, because that person is reducing your budget and keeping your revenues intact. That's like the most important person, right? So that is how I see this. And every time I have done it, mostly we see a new innovation coming in. There's a small example I can state. Earlier we used to categorize the conversations into larger categories when we kind of said that still this is not working. Now they are not even, that there's a third layer of subcategory to subcategory in which the anonymized data is, I'd say, tagged, and then basis on that the decision making happens. So this keeps on happening, and how to expose that data, again, that comes in play every time.
Okay, my final question to both of you is that if both of you had to, choose between adding one more tool or, improve the working of the tools that you currently have, where would you put your bet on?
I think I think it's kind of all over the place right now, because you are using too many tools and you do not know which one is working. How much sharper can you get? Now, having said that, I don't think I want to pinpoint one tool. I don't want to take names, because we are experimenting with a lot of tools. I can say, so we have subscription for Cloud Enterprise, right? But I don't want to say that I want to limit myself there. We have subscriptions for Canva, we have subscription for VO to make quick videos. But I don't think I want to limit myself, because everybody is working and improvising as we speak. And being leading the marketing function, leading growth function within an organization, I don't want to curtail my thought in a way that I would just rest my case with this particular tool and it's working well for me. The success matrix for any tool to work for you or is working for you is, are you ready to purchase it again? Right? Are you ready to put your bet on that money that you spent on that tool again? That's one. Second is that Is it pushing you, pushing your campaigns to deliver more from what you were doing probably 6 months or 3 months earlier? The third KPI or a success matrix I would give is whether your CRM is integrated with that platform, whether it is adding value to the source of truth that you were using before you were using AI. So all of them, if are integrated, that entire architecture would deliver results for you.
Yeah, so I again loop back to the first answer which I gave. One tool which you should actually, I'd say, really work upon is get hold of at least any of the brains of any of the LLMs, because all of the LLMs will eventually come to a place where they are equally intelligent. That's going to happen because everyone is investing to and fro. So get a hold of one of the brains. Probably it could be Opus from Claude or something from OpenAI or some model from Gemini. Get in hold of that brain which is detached from the larger infra layer, probably going by Azure or Amazon, AWS services, whatever you guys are working. These brains are detached from the larger infra layer. And then I'd say that in-house data layer which you guys are building and expose it to that, you will be, I'd say, in a wow. The kind of, because dashboards are only limited to what we create out of them, right? We need this ROAS, Falana XYZ dashboard out there because we have told कि ये मेरे को ये dashboard चाहिए. But when you expose that data layer to that brain, you will be, we were actually in wow. We did this experiment 3 days back. We were in wow of the kind of insights it came to us. This business is running for 25 old years. We have a lot of data, but when it was exposed to this one of the brains which is detached from the infra layer of the larger, I say, when you go by the again Azure and AWS frameworks, the brains are actually detached from the larger because this data sharing kind of concerns come in place, which I always say ki it's anyways shared. You don't know. It's just that you don't know that it's shared. So yeah. So that is one tool one should invest in. That brain and your AI infra layer. I still call that brain as a tool, although it's an intelligence brain which is trained on different weights and I'd say a neural network, and you can actually attach it to your data warehouse layer which you have created, and then tools will be just an enablement layer where you are choosing to pass it to them. They will probably choose to engage with your user and tell some more bits about it, get the data layer from GA or whatever analytics tool you're using in your warehouse itself, expose it to that brain, get the insights and choose a tool to engage whatever sort of engagement you want to do, because ultimately it's about engagement, right? Going back and talking to the customer in the language they can more relate to. So that's my insight around the tools which I have.
I think that's a good note to end on, because it's very clear that it's not how much you spend, but how clearly you know what's working for you. And thank you both for joining me for this honest conversation. A warm round of applause for our speakers.